I'm Scott L. Miller. It is the 13th of April, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in Leon, Nicaragua. Today we're going to talk about what you need to do when you're coming down to look at living. Like what I think you really need to consider as a starting point to get your process going. Like just kicking things off. We'll get to it right after the bump. Okay, so it's Thursday, and what we want to talk about is how you need to get started when you're coming down. Because I talk to a lot of people who get very excited and are interested in coming down, relocating, retiring, buying a house. Now, I'm not talking about tourists. I'm talking about people who are really honestly looking at making a move, whether it's just an investment or whatever. And I'm surprised that this reaction doesn't happen, but I've talked to so many people that I know it is not the natural reaction. But the thing you need to do, and we're going to delve into it, but it's this simple, is get on a plane and come down here. Yes, do a little bit of research first. Yes, watch my show. Of course, watch every episode twice if you can. You know, comment, ask questions. Great. Get that stuff going because you can do that right this moment. But you can also get on a plane and get down here pretty easily, pretty cheaply, pretty quickly. And if you're seriously looking at moving, keep in mind, this is one of the largest decisions you will make in your life. Now, remember, we also say in other shows, it's not a permanent decision, so don't be afraid to take a little bit of a leap, because if you move and decide it's not the right place for you after 6 months, a year, 5 years, well, you can just move again somewhere else. So something that we made a mistake with when we were looking at moving was, for a long time, we felt very tied to, we need to keep our house in the United States. We lived in Dallas, Texas at the time, and it was very tempting to hold on to that house until we found the perfect spot. And that's a really dangerous way to think about things, because it will cause you to hold on to a high-cost location that is not the place you want, assuming you actually want to relocate, but we're assuming that as a base point. And it will keep you farther away from wherever you want to be without giving you the chance to really learn more about what makes sense for you. And so it took a while for us to overcome that fear. And once we moved, and the thing we said was, we have to have a place to live. But if we live in Nicaragua, now we did move around. We lived in 8 countries, right? We did a lot of footwork to figure out where we wanted to live. We narrowed it down a bit. We put in a lot of time, and we said, you know what? If we get it wrong, at least we're getting it better than we are, right? We knew that moving to Nicaragua would be an upgrade in our lifestyle from Texas. We knew that it would be a lowering of our cost of living. We knew that it would be healthier food. And we knew that every day we'd be learning so much more, both about Nicaragua and about what makes us happy in a place that we live in. Now, we've lived all over, so we have a lot more background on what we like and dislike compared to most people. But even so, it was really important to get out of the United States, get out of our old home, and get into our new lives abroad. And once we did that, it meant that every day we were learning more about ourselves and Nicaragua while saving money. So while it ended up working out for us that, yes, we did believe that with our research and our attempts at things, we did decide on the right place, that we do want to stay permanently as much as anyone does. But we also feel really confident that we made the right choice even to have moved, even if this ended up being the wrong place. What if it turned out that Guatemala or Argentina or Greece was the right place for us? Well, we're more capable of both moving on to those other places and more capable of making the decisions about those other places by having moved already. So that overall is really important to think that the natural reaction of staying put and doing nothing until you have a final decision may actually be a really terrible reaction. It may be completely counterproductive to your end goals. Now, some people, you still need to work and maintain a job. That's different, right? We were in a position where we could move as soon as we made a decision. And so it was all about getting past the paralysis of decision making. Don't let decision paralysis hold you back. Now, getting beyond that, of course, don't just go move to Nicaragua sight unseen with no planning whatsoever. That is in no way what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that you immediately do your research, and tons of you that I talk to, that's exactly what you're doing. That's what brought you to this channel in the first place. So great, you've got that well in hand. But it's often tempting to take a long time doing that rather than jumping directly onto, let's get on a plane, let's get down there and let's see, because there's so many things that you will answer instantly once you're on the ground. You will know how much your Spanish is going to work here if you speak any. You will know instantly how much that Spanish matters for you in day-to-day life. You will know if the beaches are to your liking, if the housing market is to your liking, if the food is to your liking. There's so many things, and there's so many intangibles that we can't really explain, but it's what it's like driving down the street, what it's like walking places, what it feels like in a restaurant, the way that people interact. These are very difficult things that we can't tell you about. We can say we like it here, right? I can give you some very general things, but for the most part, no amount of me showing you or telling you about a place is going to be anywhere close to getting off a plane, getting in a car, and driving around the country for a few days, seeing a few things, eating at a few restaurants, being involved in a few activities, going out to the bar, whatever. You will, in just a couple days, leap forward in your general understanding of the country, and you will have so many more tools at your disposal to make good decisions later. It doesn't mean fly down, decide on a place and buy it then. Not at all. It means come down and it depends on what you're looking for. But I was just talking to Jerry, who's had a number of questions recently, and she's interested, for example, in a beach location. I mentioned this on the show the other day, much like Paul and I were when we came down a number of years ago in 2020, and I did the same thing with Alan in 2019. Alan had a really good idea. He had done tons of research and knew pretty much where he wanted to go. So we came down and spent a bunch of time there specifically, did a quick little survey of some other places, but pretty much spent a bit of time in one particular place that he had done a lot of research on, and he was able to make the decision that he wanted to move. Great. He was really looking for that concrete decision in that way, but definitely came down. He had no idea what Nicaragua was going to be like until he came down, and then it was fantastic. When we came down, when Paul and I came down, I had been down multiple times. He had been to Costa Rica and Panama, but he hadn't been to Nicaragua, but he was really confident based on what he knew from us and from his experiences in Costa Rica and Panama that this would be a great fit for him. So we were really coming down to scout beaches specifically. It's not quite why we came down, but it ended up being what the trip was. And what we did was start at one end of the country and just organized as fast as we could, going from beach to beach. And it only took the tiniest bit of time at each location to get a really good feel for what it was like. Some places are mostly expats, some places are mostly locals, some places are really lively, some places are really slow, some places are close to cities, some places are far, some places have paved roads, some places have dirt. All those things, it only takes minutes. You drive into a town and go, I could live here, but it's not the right place for me. Move on to the next one. Those decisions can be done really quickly. And so the combination of doing a trip where you come down and get to know Nicaragua a little bit, and truly there is no alternative for just driving through a country, driving through a state, driving through a region to get to see everything. So many people fly in, go to a thing, and fly back out. They never know what it's actually like. They don't know how like pieces connect together. Get in a car, go from place to place. That alone will give you so much scope. And then do local things. Go to restaurants, go to bars, maybe go out dancing, go to karaoke, something, go to shows, go shopping, go to the grocery store, do some activities between things and pack it in. Right? This is an exploratory mission. You're not here for fun. You're here to do things, right? Stay in hotels, all those things. And you can do it pretty quickly. Like I'm talking like a week if you need to. If you have more time, great, right? But 5 to 10 days. Go to a bunch of places that seem like they would fit your needs, right? If you're interested in mountain towns, go to 5 mountain towns, put in 2 days in each, and just move from place to place over a period of 10 days, and you will have such a feel for these different places. You'll have time to go back to one if you need to. You can sample the foods, walk the streets, go see the sights, feel the weather. Of course, you don't have enough time to get, an annual change or anything, but you'll have a lot of information. And then when you go back and start thinking and watching my videos and talking and making plans, and if you want to start considering something from remote, you have the mental tools to make those decisions, and you will be so much more effective. And importantly, you may decide in that amount of time, oh, Nicaragua is not what I was imagining, it's not for me. Or I was on the fence about it, it's fantastic, this is where I need to be. Those things are that simple. Sometimes that's all it takes. So I encourage you, if this is something that's on your radar, don't hold off that first step. It may be years. So the two things I always say, people do not come down and get to know the place in person quickly enough, and they almost always then try to buy a house too quick. It's a weird, everyone wants to hold off on coming down to visit as if that's hard and expensive, and want to buy a house quickly as if that's cheap and easy. But it's not, it's the other way around. Coming down and spending a few days driving around, that takes very little effort. It's fun, in fact. If it's not fun, you probably need to rethink moving to Nicaragua. It's fun to do. It's not very expensive. It's not huge time consuming, and it is not a commitment to anything beyond the 10 days you come down for, right? But it'll arm you with so many tools to go out and make good decisions about your moving. But if you buy a house, if you do it sight unseen, or you don't know the area, you haven't spent enough time in an area to really know what you're getting, it is so easy to overpay. It's so easy to get a house that isn't the right one for you. It's so easy to end up on the wrong street, the wrong neighborhood, the wrong beach. So you want to spend your time and effort earlier figuring out the big things, and let the minute house choices be delayed. Now, I know some of you are really anxious because the housing market is so good right now, and we don't know how long that's going to last. So whether you're just buying a plot of land and you'll build later, that's fine. Or if you want to buy a pre-built house and you want to get the best deal now because this is when they're at their lowest, that's fine. But be aware that is risky by not doing as much research, but it does make sense, and some of you are anxious to do that. If you're anxious to do that, the thing I'm going to say is then front load your research even more. The more that you want to jump on that and make that decision, and trust me, I understand, then the more you want to get here, drive around, put in more time, figure out how you can spend time doing your research. And yes, there are ways to buy a house when you're remote. Yes, it's harder. Hopefully you don't have to do that, but if you can get here and put in the time, because if you can't get here and put in the time to buy a house, what are you going to do with that house once you've bought it? It's going to sit idle, right? You pretty much will have to. So consider all those things. Yes, you may get a better deal now, but if you wait 2 years, do a bunch of research, you're probably not going to get that much worse of a deal, but you will have 2 years that you didn't have to have an empty house that may have been the wrong one for you. Almost certainly taking the time, paying just a little bit more as the market starts to rebound, and getting the right place for you is going to be the thing that saves you the most money, makes you the happiest overall. So carefully weigh out which pieces you invest the most time in and which ones you rush unnecessarily. So real quickly, if you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ScottAllenMiller. That's like a Patreon. It comes straight to me and helps afford the cameras and tripods and all the gear necessary for making the show. So many of you have donated and made the show possible. Thank you so much. It's really meaningful. And our new business is, of course, helping people with relocation, whether it's helping you scout out these areas, taking you on trips to go visit lots of areas and beaches and mountain towns or whatever, showing you walking in different streets, doing tours of houses, all those things. You can reach out to us. I'll have it on the screen, but it's info@relocatenicaragua.com. And we'd love to work with you. And a lot of you have reached out over the last 2 weeks, so we've just started announcing this. I'm actually overwhelmed with how many people have reached out. That's fantastic. I do know it's going to take a long time for anyone who's reaching out through that path to go from just interest and maybe a quick conversation. And one of the things we are doing is you can get on the phone with me and spend an hour. You can have us go look at a house and take pictures and things like that are very simple. But absolutely, if you want to come down and have a guided tour and go from beach to beach or whatever, we would love to spend a week, 2 weeks with you, showing you around and introducing you to all kinds of aspects of life in Nicaragua, whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's a vacation home or a chance to retire or a way to relocate and work as a digital nomad. That is something we would certainly love to help you with. Remember to like and subscribe, share on social media, get us out there on Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, all those things. So helpful to getting news of the channel out there. All right, so today, this evening, today was a work day. This evening, we decided to go and hang out with some friends at En El Vivero, which is, I've shown it a little bit on the show, but not very much. It is a bar and live music venue built inside a nursery, meaning like where they grow plants. And it's the service is not the best, the food sometimes varies, but the venue itself is absolutely fantastic, and they've been doing some upgrades to it. And I love that it's full of cats and plants. Like, there's so many cats wandering around, and you're like in a jungle, and it sits over a ravine. So if you're there during the day, the views are I don't want to say they're amazing. The views are really good for downtown Leon because it's on a ravine and there's things to see out the back. And when you're not sitting with that view, everything's just plants and lights and neon. And it's a really, really interesting space and really large. They get lots of great live bands like we had tonight. It was a two-piece that played for a while. So I'm gonna throw them on the screen and let you guys see them perform for a minute.
Mujer igual a la flaca, por el negro de La Habana, que me víctima mulata, 100 libras de piel y hueso, 40 kilos de salsa y en la cara 2 soles que sin palabras hablan, que sin palabras hablan. La flaca duerme de día, dice que hace hambre carne cuando cae la noche, para bailar a la tasca, y bailar y tomar una cerveza tras otra, pero ella nunca engorda, nunca, pero ella nunca engorda. ¿Cómo dice ahora? ¡Vamos! ¡Se escucha!
And they were great. We really enjoyed the show. Tonight I got some of their music in the shorts. Some of our friends like Franklin were there and he got up and played with them as well.
Si no creyera en lo que agencio, si no creyera en mi camino, si no creyera en mi sonido, si no creyera en el silencio, entonces fuera la masa sin cantera.
And it was just a really nice time. We didn't get dinner there. We ate dinner at the house and then went out. But they're one of the few places that do.
Te regalo mis manos, mis palabras caídas, el beso más profundo, el que se ahoga en un gemido. Te regalo mi amor, un increíble, un rayo de ilusión, un corazón al desnudo. Ay, 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 amor, eres la rosa que me da calor, eres el sueño de mi soledad, letargo de azul, un eclipse de Navidad. Ay, 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 amor, yo soy satélite y tú eres mi sol, un universo de agua mineral, un espacio de luz que solo llenas tú. Ay, ay. Letargo de azul, un eclipse de Navidad. Ay, 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 amor, yo soy satélite y tú eres mi sol, un universo de agua mineral, un espacio de luz que solo